The story of To the Grinning Valley event is set roughly in 1098, sometimes before Rhodes Island operation in Londinium, and our first event story that is set in Rimbilliton. In the very first part of the story, we are in Rustdrag town, where we see a big transport truck, or as the Rimbilletonian call it, a ute, used to transport all sorts of things and people, mostly miners, around the vast and treacherous land of Rimbilli. We see the driver, a Savra named Alana, or Lands for short, enjoying a stew made by Warmy, an infected girl who she often calls Potlid. Then they are talking about this truck that will be soon sent to Iron Carrot City to be decommissioned, and it's decided even after that, Warmy will still travel together with Alana. From this story and her profile, we know that Warmy has been with Lands for a pretty long time, ever since Warmy's father went missing around the year 1096. Presumably, her father died in a mining accident, but since there's no concrete evidence of his death. Warmy has been riding trucks and wandered from one mine to another in search of her father, because she knows that her father often rides trucks like what Alana drove. After some time, some people, including Alana, begin to notice her, and because it seems the little girl doesn't have anyone to take care of her, Alana decided to take her in while still looking for clues of the kid's father. And despite her friends are betting that she doesn't have the patience to take care of the kid. But turns out Alana does get along with Warmy, even treats Warmy as her adopted daughter. Moving on, there's a lot of things Lands needs to do before going to Iron Carrot to return the truck. And that includes renovating the truck back to its standard form, because Lands modified some parts of the truck to make it go faster, as well as making a small kitchen and bedroom for Warmy. Then Lands asks Warmy to get some truck parts and also sell some of the scraps they own in the town. She also warns Warmy to never use her arts for any little things, because she doesn't have any training or even a staff or arts unit. Later in the town, we see Warmy pushing a cart with a big pile of scraps on it. But she lost control on a steep road, and the cart ended up crashing into a store entrance. Luckily, no one's hurt, and property damage count is 0. And conveniently, this is one of the stores she was told to sell the scraps and buy the truck part. But because she can't find the right part and have a good deal, furthermore, the shopkeep seems to be wary of the infected, she decided to check out another store. And all of this was seen by another customer. Later that evening, Warmy headed back to Alana. But along the way, she found her at an abandoned workshop where most workers use it to gather and socialize, spending time with her fellow trucker and mechanic friends in the town motor pool for probably the last time, because after she and Warmy go to Iron Carrot, they probably won't be coming back here. Thinking Alana might be playing around instead of renovating the truck, Warmy comes in and scolds her. But Warmy accidentally reveals the black crystal on her arms, which makes everyone who saw it shocked, because they never knew Warmy is an infected. And to avoid any trouble, Alana takes Warmy back to the truck, and Warmy is surprised to see that Lands has actually finished renovating it in only a short time. Then tomorrow morning, all preparation to go to Iron Carrot is almost ready, and they only need to hand over a decommissioning report to the town's office. Warmy decided to do it so that Alana can spend a bit more time with her mate. And in the office, while waiting in line, we see a familiar face standing beside Warmy. It turns out Savage, as well as the doctor and supreme leader Amiya, are in the town. Hearing that Warmy is in a rush and knowing her document only needs to be handed over, Savage is willing to take care of her paperwork so that Warmy can go. But before that, Savage notices that Warmy is an infected. So she gives the little girl a Rhodes Island business card and told her to show it to her family in case they might need help. Shortly, Warmy manages to reach Alana's truck right before they are scheduled to leave. Since her small room has already been removed, Lands tells Warmy to stay in an inconspicuous tool room for now, because Alana still has one last job to take passengers along the way to Iron Carrot. Shortly, Two passengers come into the truck. One is the quiet redhead from before, and the other is an anxious-looking man. But to everyone's surprise, the redhead announces she is hijacking the truck, to use it to go to a place called the Grinning Valley. But the woman tells everyone she won't hurt anybody if they cooperate, even telling them they can leave right now, including the driver. But in the end, no one's going out, because Alana wants to make sure the truck is fine, while the other passenger is just too scared to move. Along the way, the redhead lady and Alana share some sarcastic conversation, but it is clear the redhead doesn't have any more ill intent other than going to her destination. She is even willing to pay Alana once they get there. But Lance still don't trust her. Luckily, they are nearing an unusually crowded checkpoint, where the security is tighter than usual, and Lance thinks she might be able to get help here. But soon they learned that these cars were going to another location, because there was a big orogenium explosion in the mine near the area. And these securities were ordered to search for any infected evacuee and take them to the treatment zone. Which is bad news for Alana, because she doesn't want Warmy to be taken to such an uncertain place. And despite her efforts to convince them to let them through, the security comes inside the truck and manages to find Warmy. Warmy is surprised by the security, but is more surprised because she never saw Alana this anxious before, desperately begging the security to let Warmy go. But luckily, as they are about to take Warmy, the redhead, who also turns out to be an infected, manages to beat down the securities. And once everyone's in the truck, Lance uses this chance to escape using this heavy-duty truck to clear the road ahead. Later, they are now in the clear, although the truck did take some nasty beatings, and since things have come to this, Alana thinks might as well take the redhead to her destination. And here, Lance learns more about her passengers. The anxious-looking man is Jerry. Looking at his appearance, everyone thought he might have some bad things going on in his job and is unwilling to go to work. But turns out he's heading to Iron Carrot to be engaged. But because of his cowardly nature, and not even knowing the woman his family has set him to be engaged with, he has been very anxious about going there, and is even relieved knowing that the carjacking took him somewhere else. While our carjacker here is Rayella, or Ray for short. You might wonder if she's even willing to pay Alana. Why would she carjack in the first place, and not just use Uber instead? Well, first of all, I don't think Uber exists in Terra. Second, it is because of her destination. Grinning Valley is known to be a catastrophe-bound area, where it got its name from numerous orogenium crystals forming there. It's basically a wasteland ruin and not vehicle-friendly, so it makes sense if Ray needed a more specialized vehicle for her journey. But her goal is even more surprising and somewhat ridiculous, because her goal was to find some sort of giant shadow or creature that can shoot rays of light through fog and can talk too. Moving on, after successfully disguising the vehicle as ordinary transport and entering a nearby city, the group split up. Alana and Warmy went to visit an old friend who can guide them to the safest route to Grinning Valley, and ask whether the creature Ray mentioned is real or not. While Ray is tasked to buy some supplies, and Jerry shortly joins her. He still thinks Ray is some sort of career criminal, and he thought she might rob the shop, so he gives her his money. But shortly, Jerry notices a uniformed worker approaching them. Thinking he is someone sent to look for him, he immediately runs away. While Ray is just chilling because this man turns out to be some sort of salesman. Shortly after that, Ray notices 3 people in the distance. The doctor, Savage, and Amia are in this place. Since there's time before the big operation to Victoria, the trio uses this change to walk down memory lane, and it seems the surrounding area is the place where Amia once lived. Savage further mentions, after the attack that once hit the engineering team, which consists of Amia's parents. The nomadic plate where Amia used to live has been dismantled, and this place should have most of what is left from that old plate. Although it's not exactly the same place she once saw, but Amia thinks it's enough, and thanks Savage for her help finding this place. Meanwhile, Jerry still thinks he is chased by someone, and is hiding in a truck similar to Alana's. But to his surprise, there is an unfamiliar woman inside, and he soon realizes he's in the wrong vehicle. Interestingly, this woman named Kira is not the vehicle owner and is also hiding here. But soon the vehicle owners notice them, and they run away. Their escape led them to a series of pipelines and sewers, and eventually, they are in the clear. Then we got some soap opera-level scenes. For the very short time they are together, Jerry and Kira notice their interest matches and develop feelings for each other. Both also share some stories about themselves, about how Jerry is missing his engagement, and how Kira's family is going to introduce a man for her, and much like Jerry, she is also trying to avoid it. And guess what? After telling what little details they know about their future partner, they realize their family is actually about to introduce them to each other. So after knowing his future wife, Jerry is no longer scared to be engaged and rushes to tell Alana and the others about this. Shifting to Lan's and Warmy's side, turns out the friend Lan's mentioned is asbestos, and Alana obtained info about the route to Grinning Valley from her. But due to how desolate the destination is, there is no such thing as an easy or safe route. And before leaving, Alana asks whether the creature Ray mentioned truly exists. At first, Asbestos said it's not, but then said it could be a faen. However, she doesn't give details because for most people, faen is just stuff of legends, and not many people know or heard about that subject. In any case, Alana thanks Asbestos for her help and goes back to the truck with Warmy. But along the way, Lan's notice Warmy is unusually quiet, and when asked how she is doing, the kid just smiles and doesn't say much, which led to Alana telling Warmy to not bottle up her emotions, because she knows Warmy often hides her sadness and anger with her smile. Sometime later, the gang is back on their track to Grinning Valley, except for Jerry, who is now on his way with Kira to their engagement ceremony. Ray also learned about the faen from Alana, and now she looks even more determined to look for that creature. But suddenly the truck temperature rose significantly. Since there's nothing abnormal in the road, Alana thinks it might be because of Warmy, and she is right. Warmy has been using her arts to temper with the truck's power plant to make it go smoother, but because she's using nothing but her hand to cast it and hardly has any training, her oripathy is flaring up, also resulting in her arts becoming uncontrollable, which explains the sudden temperature rising. Ray suggests getting her to the doctor fast, but Alana said she knows there's nothing those doctors can do with oripathy. So Alana gives the kid a local remedy, and due to how high her fever is, Alana desperately tries to lower Warmy's fever by tying her up to a condensate pipe and soaking her feet with water, saying they need to tackle the external problem first. But of course this is just from what she heard, and obviously doesn't make Warmy conditions any better. As things are looking worse, suddenly the truck's bell is ringing, indicating someone wants to enter, and Ray tells Alana to see who it is, while Ray, who is also an infected, stay with Warmy in case things get much worse. She knows Warmy is subconsciously using her arts, and knowing how dangerous it can be for Warmy and her surrounding, Ray might be forced to knock her out. Meanwhile, it turns out the one who wants to enter is the trio. They are driving near the area when they notice this truck is popping out unusual smoke and is wondering if they can help. And despite Alana's protest because of her not knowing them, the trio goes inside the truck and sees what's going on, and immediately treat Warmy's oripathy flare up with their expertise and potent suppressant. Later that evening, the Rhodes Islander manages to stabilize Warmy's condition. She can even move around and cook for the whole gang, but she is advised to go to the Rhodes branch office after this journey is over. And yes, despite what happened, Alana and the others are still heading to Grinning Valley, because Warmy begs Alana to go and take her there after dreaming about what it seems to be the creature Ray was looking for. The Rhodes Islander also decided to come with them, since they don't have any destination to begin with, and the doctor is interested in this whole faen story. Besides, Warmy would need someone to make sure her condition is okay. But before that, the Rhodes Islander uses this quiet and relaxing night to reminisce about the past. After knowing about Warmy and Alana, it reminds Amia of when the doctor saved her and eventually raised by the people of Babel. She also said if there's ever a chance for her to meet her parents again, she would gladly tell them she has survived, whatever misfortune and challenge that she had faced. Then the doctor suddenly remembered something that seems to explain what happened to the engineering team that consisted of Amia's parents, but it is still a vague memory, and I guess we'll know about it in future events. Savage also remembers things in the past, and vaguely mentioned about the cage incident that happened around year 1090, which is basically Arknight's version of Eureka Rebellion. In the past, it seems Savage was also a bad-tempered person, and disliked and disappointed in the doctor and Kaltzit after what happened to Amia in the past. But by the looks of things, the doctor manages to gain her trust once more. Then the doctor pointed his finger to where Ray is sitting, who has been awfully quiet and distancing herself from the group. Understanding the assignment, Savage goes to chat with Ray. Ray said she has seen the infected die and perish to ashes plenty of times in her life, and thinks she doesn't fear pain. But after seeing Warmy up close like that, she can't help but feel scared, and feels terrible because Warmy probably won't end up like that if she didn't hijack them. Then Savage asked what was the reason she did the carjacking and this search for that giant creature. Ray said she came from a family of hunters, and when she was a child, she followed her elder to hunt for the first time, near the area later known as Grinning Valley. Alas, the group got caught in the middle of a fierce sandstorm with no place for cover. But then a miracle happened. She vaguely saw that giant shadow, which then saved the group from the disaster. And ever since then, she has been curious and wanted to see that creature once again. And it seems the final push for Ray to embark on this journey is when she lost her first sand beast. You see, Ray often works as a pit sinker, basically someone who checks a mine safety before the mining operation starts. And pit sinkers always bring along a sand beast with them to detect any toxic gas or something alike. And it's rather common for a pit sinker's sand beast to die on the job, and if their sand beast is dying, most will just ignore it and buy a new one. Except for Ray, who has a fondness for sand beasts and animals in general. So when her sand beast is dying after it got caught in a toxic gas, she tried so hard to treat it, but failed to do so, and was devastated. And this moment reminds her of that giant shadow who once saved her. Then perhaps, as a form of consolation, she decided to search this creature. Back to the present, the journey to the Grinning Valley continues. But at one of their stops, Ray seems to hallucinate, where she can hear a sand beast talk, and it seems to guide her somewhere. And after she snaps out of it, she sees plenty of sand beasts already gathered and playing with the others. But soon they can see Alana rushes to the group, saying that the truck survey equipment has detected a minor catastrophe is approaching. Hearing that, everyone rushes to the truck before the sandstorm catastrophe hit. But once inside, they realize Ray is still outside. And turns out she is trying to get all of the sand beasts from before to a safe place. And if there's none, she's willing to protect them from the storm with her body. This exact moment is similar to what Ray experienced when she was a child. And this time, she is trying to be that giant shadow who protected these sand beasts. But as things are looking grim, the sand beasts are acting weird. And unexpectedly, they come together and carry Ray to a cave, a safe place to stay from the incoming storm. She thought it might be their den, but interestingly, the sand beasts seems to try to guide her deeper into the cave. And at one point they stopped guiding her and act as if letting Ray to see what's ahead. But what's ahead is nothing but a closed-off cavern. However, feeling something might be in there, she chisels it open with her equipment. And what comes next is probably the most surprising moment in her life. A giant talking creature has awoken from its slumber. The creature is annoyed to be awakened by Ray, but overall it is harmless towards her. Upon seeing this, Ray believes it is the faen she was looking for and is the one who once saved her. But the faen says it is not possible, because it has been here for decades, perhaps centuries. And no way it could be other faen, because this big guy is sure there are no more of his kin out there. So with that being said, the faen feels sleepy again and tells Ray it is time for her to go. And soon those sand beasts are carrying her once again. But right after she turns away, considering she has come this far, the faen asks if Ray wanted help with anything. And Ray answers by saying she wants to be sent to a safe place with these sand beasts. Moving on, the story skips to when the journey is over, and we see Alana with her battered truck in Iron Carrot City. And surprisingly, she met Jerry here, who is now married and is on honeymoon. Alana shares the story of what happened after Jerry left and what happened after they encountered that minor catastrophe. So the group manages to find Ray unharmed, and were surprised when Ray said she had met the faen, but it was not what she was looking for. And the thing she was looking for probably did not even exist. At this point, Ray is satisfied with the outcome of her journey, but the group still continues to Grinning Valley to see what it looks like, and eventually goes to Iron Carrot without any trouble other than the truck needing some serious repair. Shifting to Warmy, she is in the Rhodes branch office with Savage, gaining a bit of arts training and a staff, though Savage said Warmy and Alana would need to go to the landship for further checkup. Shortly, Alana comes in, and the two share a sweet conversation, with Warmy finally lets out her emotions and cries while hugging Alana. Then we are in the landship. Amiya and the doctor are seeing the preparation for Victoria. Amiya also uses this chance to give the doctor a gift, a vivarium. It's a childhood wish she wanted to fulfill, because in the past, she often saw the doctor looking very lonely. And from what she heard, it's because the things that the doctor wanted to see do not exist anymore. Whatever it was, Amiya thinks the vivarium can make Doc less lonely, and the doctor is grateful for this gift. They then meet Ray, who is now an operator, with a sand beast that follows her around. Amiya congratulates her on her successful onboarding and says Ray can always treat Rhodes Island as her home. Ray also says she is satisfied with the journey outcome and has no regrets. But she is still wondering and wanted to see the ray of light that once saved her, even if it was all just a dream. Suddenly, Amiya can feel Ray's emotions and sees a glimpse of memories from her past. And here we know the giant shadow that once saved Ray was actually Rhodes Island landship. The landship was just recently dug out by members of Babel and was moving slowly through Rim Billiton territory and on their way, in the middle of a sandstorm. The convoy stumbled upon a trapped group of hunters, which is none other than Ray's group. And Amiya saw her, their leader. Teresa reaches out her hands to help those complete strangers, because she always thought it would be so nice if everyone could make it back to their own home.